every tournament upset and every highlight with the fan at Hop House. You can join almost everybody. Guardsy, Meat Sauce, Max, Parker, Halvey for Bracket Bash watch parties March 19th and 20th to catch college hoops on the big screens and prizes flowing all day long, including 65-inch TVs. Get all the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Wild Vegas tonight, I'm assuming, on the flagship. What time? Is it a 9 o'clock Central Time start?
It's a late one, yeah.
9 o'clock. That's where our next guest is, Russo Radio, kind enough to give us some extra time after extended time yesterday. Welcome back to the program. Here's your toss-up question. If you take Quinn Hughes out of this conversation, give me the single player the Wild have acquired recently that intrigues you the most.
I mean, clearly Bobby Brink, 24 years old, of all these players, has probably the biggest and potentially brightest future with this organization. I mean, this is a guy that was a second-round pick that I remember a couple years back when Brink was draft eligible. He was somebody that I remember when the first-round pick came around for the Wild, they wanted fans really were clamoring for the Wild to take, and he was one of the first picks taken on the second day of the draft. Competitive, smart, skilled, and somebody that could play up and down your lineup, has played before with guys like Boldy. And as somebody that I know that again, Wild fans have asked me about for the last couple of years. So we'll see. I mean, that's the interesting part of the day, is that this wasn't just getting a bunch of guys that are in the twilights of their career. I mean, Bobby Brink has a chance of being a longtime NHL player.
What at his best does he represent?
Bobby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bobby Brink.
Yeah, Bobby. Yeah, I mean, I think he has the ability to be a top six forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, on this team, the way that they're built and having so many skilled wingers, between Kaprizov and obviously and Boldy and players like that. I mean, right now he's going to start at third line right wing, but I think there are going to be times that you're going to see, that he has the chance to move up in the lineup and you move Boldy to the left wing and maybe him to the right wing. That's what I would like to see. When this team is healthy, we've seen Marcus Johansson in that role, and Marcus Johansson has 1 goal in his last 20 games or something. At some point you've got to change it up and I think Johansson would be suited really well to play in a third line type role, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not the coach, and there's going to obviously be, when you get this many new forwards into the lineup in the last week between Fabry, McCarron, and Nick Foligno and obviously Bobby Brink, there's going to be guys squeezed out of the lineup. There's going to be a lot of shuffling the decks to try to find the chemistry that could go well. Where does Tarasenko fit in? Where does Johansson fit in when he comes back in the lineup? Where does Marcus Foligno come back, go in the lineup? I mean, they have 15 forwards now. 3 are going to be scratched on a nightly basis when healthy. And so it's going to be really fascinating to watch how they, sort of regenerate the chemistry that they've had here the last couple of months once everybody's healthy.
Who's going to play, of the new guys, who's in tonight?
McCarron's going to make his Wild debut playing center.
Okay. And
Bobby Brink is supposed to arrive here today and debut. Nick Foligno will meet the team in Denver. Jeff Petrie, who I might have been the most excited about because I was such a huge fan of his dad when he was a big league pitcher. That's why he was born in Michigan. I mean, Dan Petrie was a heck of a player, won a World Series, Cy Young, all that type of stuff. Cy Young voting, he wasn't Cy Young winner,
right.
But I mean, he's somebody that I was super excited when they got, just because I've long enjoyed covering and watching Jeff Petrie. So, but he's going to be in the press box tonight, and he could be in the press box an extended period. I mean, when they acquired Jeff Petrie yesterday, it was so clear that David Jiricek was a goner today in some capacity, whether it was going to be thrown into a Ryan O'Reilly deal or obviously what eventually happened in Bobby Brink. It just made no sense adding Jeff yesterday to get an extra right shot D when you had Juracek in the system. So, they get Jeff here, but obviously if healthy, Faber, Spurgeon, and Bogosian are in front of him. So Jeff's going to likely be in the press box a lot if this team is healthy on the back end.
At this moment, not knowing how it's going to play out, does Juracek, that acquisition, represent the worst trade Guerin has made since he's run the Wild?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I don't know. I still don't really understand what went on there and the scouting that
yeah.
I think that just sometimes when you see guys that are young and, in World Juniors dominated, and you just don't stop seeing them with scouts' eyes. And some point you think like, all right, a change in scenery is gonna change things up. But to give up the big haul that they gave up, obviously not very good. And really, it's not that they gave up these assets that are gonna, like, if you look at the first round pick and where the Wild would have drafted in that draft and who went around there, like Bobby Brink is the best. Like you weren't going to find a first round pick better than Bobby Brink. So they sort of salvaged that. But when you give up that many assets, it's one big reason why it takes you out of so many other things. I mean, that's 4 assets in Damon Hunt that they traded there. Now they got Hunt back, so that made it a little more digestible. But it creates like a deficiency when it comes to assets, which is how, today then you make the Quinn Hughes trade and why today you really needed to exercise patience. And I think that he made the smart and prudent decision today by not, look, first of all, like no centers won in the league. The only one that went was Nazem Kadri, a 35-year-old with 3 years left on a deal at $7 million that they traded a first, a second, and 2 prospects for. Like that was the going rate for a center today, and that was a 35-year-old who was not the Nazem Kadri that was there when they won the Cup many years ago in 22. So, like, I don't think that the Wild should have taken their precious few assets that they had left and traded for a 35-year-old Ryan O'Reilly or even a 32-year-old Vincent Trocheck if it could potentially take you out of getting another superstar this offseason or even into next year. And so I think that as much as fans wanted him to go out and acquire a Vincent Trocheck to give up those type of assets that the Rangers wanted from them, it just would have been an absurd thing to do. Even though you got to try to beat Dallas or Colorado in the playoffs this year. So I actually think that he made the right move by the old adage that sometimes the best moves that you make are the ones that you don't. And I just think that, the one thing that I think that fans need to realize, because I was looking at my Twitter account today and I don't know if that's the reason why I have a migraine right now, but it might be. And I do. I have the worst headache you can't even imagine. What I think that fans, like when they call it a joke of a franchise and they failed again, it's like I almost think that fans somehow were in a coma here the last 3 months and forgot the fact that they traded for maybe the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. Like, if they made that trade today, everybody would think it was a home run. But they made it December 12th, and ever since they've been the best team in the league, the most points in the league, the most goals in the league ever since. And they're sitting right now 4th in the standings. So, like, they gave up a ton of assets for an absolute game changer. And I think what they've got to hope for now is what the Wild are hoping for internally is that, the team that we've seen the last 3 months is the team that's going to go into the playoffs and be really, really good. And that's that you can overcome maybe not having a Nathan McKinnon or a Rupe Hintz or a Connor McDavid, a true number 1 center, by having 2 of the most elite play-driving wingers in the National Hockey League in Kaprizov and Boldy, and having a guy like Quinn Hughes that could be a total game changer. So, yeah, while it stinks today that maybe, fans are looking at it like, wow, they're going into the playoffs again with Ryan Hartman as their number 1 center or Eriksson Ek as their number 2 center. The reality is that this team is a completely different team than any of these teams that have played in the playoffs in the past that lost in the first round. Now, we have to see how it shakes out. But like, if I look at the Dallas Stars in the last couple of days, they have not gotten better. Like, Michael Bunting stinks. All he's going to do into Dallas is become another one of their big divers. Like Tyler Myers, is that really what's going to scare Wild fans? Like, I actually think that they have a really good opportunity of getting past the first round. And then you go into the second round against Colorado, that they've played really well this year, and you see the way it shakes out. But if fans really wanted to take their final couple of prospects today, like the Charlie Stramels of the world or a Danila Urov, and go get Vincent Trocheck, I think that would have been a huge, huge mistake by the organization. I get that Wild fans are tired of waiting for this team to go be a cup contender, but right now they are a cup contender this year in the league. Like there's not a lot. We saw the best team in the Eastern Conference the other night, and the Wild smoked them. So, like right now, yeah, they're in a really tough division. Utah's gotten much, much better. But I still look at this team as being a really quality opponent. And now it's just going to be interesting how these bottom six forwards all pan out and what eventually are going to be the group of players and the line combinations going into the postseason.
Well, and it wasn't like there was a run at the deadline of superstars being traded away, correct?
Yeah, there was no superstars traded, and there was one center in Nazem Kadri. Like, Scott Lawton's not somebody that you want to give up a bunch of assets for at all. So there were like two centers traded. Scott Lawton, underwhelming to say the least, and Nazem Kadri, who's no longer 28, 29 years old. He's 35 with 3 years left at $7 million. I mean, O'Reilly didn't go, Trocheck didn't go, Robert Thomas didn't go. So, like, if it meant holding on to your assets and trying and praying that a Austin Matthews or a Brady Tkachuk or a Jack Hughes or Nico Hischier become available this summer, I think it was a smart, prudent thing that Bill Guerin did. I know that doesn't help you now, but the reality is that if it would be a real shame if some of those players became available this summer and suddenly you're throwing away 2027 first round picks and top prospects away. Even if you could have gotten in on Robert Thomas today, who again didn't go, and you're trading Jesper Wallstedt, would you rather have one of those other superstars or a Robert Thomas? So it's almost better off waiting on a Wallstedt to try to see if one of those stars become available. And the other thing is, no goalies went today that I can remember. If you traded Wallstedt today for Robert Thomas, you better figure out a way to get a backup goalie in here. So, it was an interesting couple days for the Wild. They obviously worked around the edges to try to deepen and create a really big bodied, bottom six, which is different than what they've gone into the playoffs with before. And we'll see if it works. But there was really, to me, nothing that they could have done today to get that center that would have been really a smart move.
Last item. It sounds like on the basis of the quotes I've read from Guerin and from the conversation that you mentioned you had with him post-trade deadline, that they were ever really even close to something that would be considered seismic. Is that the feeling you got from him?
Yeah, exactly. Like the most seismic, if you want to call it that, would have been a Trocheck, who again wasn't traded today. And I think they made their offer and just either they didn't have what it took to up the ante that the Rangers wanted, or it was just the only thing he was willing to do. And even that, I think, could have been a major mistake. Like, I bet you it was Charlie Stramel a first and maybe even Carson Lambos. And if that wasn't enough to move the needle for the Rangers, my God, like, what else could have the Wild at least done? That maybe that just wasn't enough for them. Maybe they had no interest in a Charlie Stramel. But again, if Charlie Stramel's having an unbelievable college career, and a college season. And, remember, he's going to probably sign when his season is over with the Wild and burn a year. So that also gives now the Wild another player that they could potentially throw in the lineup. And again, I would rather use Charlie Stramel in another capacity for a star this summer than a Vincent Trocheck at 32. So that's just me. But there was nothing. I mean, there was no seismic deals at all in the National Hockey League today. So I just can't imagine that Bill Guerin would have been able to get it done. And again, he made one of the most seismic deals in NHL.
Just happened to be a while back. Yep, exactly.
Right. And that's what it is. Like, I get it, but I think that fans need to realize that again, if that deal was done today, fans would be on top of the moon. But it was done in December, and the only thing that has done is made them the best team in the league and with the most goals in the league in the last 3 months. So, I think you got to understand that they made their their bed back then, and today they work around the edges, and yet in the last couple of days have worked around the edges, and we'll see if it works.
507 guy, Russo, for your migraine, recline, but don't lay down. A hot washcloth over your eyes and face. Drink water.
Wow.
No coffee. Stay off your phone. Hope you feel better.
So there's about 7 things there that I am incapable of doing.
that's
Maybe
the fatal
coffee is
flaw.
what done it. I've only So because we're in Vegas and it's Pacific time zone and the league gets up early. I woke up at like 4 a.m. today, so I've only had about 9 coffees. So that's probably what did it.
That might not help. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the bonus time, my friend. We'll chat next week.
Yep.
Thanks, Russo.
Take care.
Appreciate you. Russo Radio, Dateline Vegas, Wild back in action tonight. And all the action, I'm assuming, will begin at 8:45. Usually we have a 15-minute pregame show. I think opening face-off
That's my understanding, yeah.
9 p.m. tonight. Let's get a shorty in, a couple of interesting texts during our conversation with Russo, and then we'll prepare for Lavelle, unless you want to do like the miniest of mini top 5 at 5s. What do you think? It's up to you.
If you want me to, I can.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll do a mini.
Okay.
Just keep it very brief, but we can still cover a couple of headlines and then prepare for the world of wobble at 5:30.
Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barreiro's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
All right, we got to get in and we got to get out. Brett Blakemore in for Guardsy again today, who unfortunately was on the play-by-play call of the Gopher women's basketball team being eliminated in what I guess would technically be the second round of the Big Ten women's basketball tournament in his favorite town, Indianapolis. Gophers lose to to Ohio State, I should say, 60-55, I think we said. Is that correct?
I believe so.
And the biggest issue for the Gophers today, turnovers. They're positioning, they're in the tournament because they're not a cusp, they're not on the edges in the tournament. What impact this might have on their ability to host rounds 1 and 2, that might be the open question.
I'm not going to do the fallness bit because we just had Russo on to talk Wild. Also, I just found out that he's not even going to be here. He'll be in St. Paul during Beyond the Pond tomorrow, so he's leaving me alone with just me and Pat Nicoletti. So, yeah, he doesn't get the bit
care.
right now.
He doesn't care.
No. But he did do something today, which was call some Class A high school hockey, and also we'll be out at 6 because of high school hockey. Halvey will take over. So we can actually go to Grand Casino Arena right now and check in with Halvey before he calls the games.
Now let's head to the X for a high school hockey tournament update.
Well, let me make sure he's there. Hang on.
I thought he was there. Oh, he's not even ready yet? Zach, are you there yet? Did you find him?
I found him.
That's outstanding.
Hey, Zach, you there?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was just in the press conference for Bruce Pland after their 6-5 victory over St. Cloud Cathedral, and they're obviously pretty happy. A heck of a hockey game, the second of 2 great games here at the X thus far. It sets up a Class A championship game tomorrow between Hermantown and Monticello Annandale Maple Lake. So, Guardsy, Barreiro, it's going to be a
Why don't you
great
catch
game.
your breath?
Yeah,
why don't you head to Trio?
Zach, are you all right?
I literally sprinted across the Bell Saber press box.
Is there a medic at the XL Energy Center? Trio Orthopedic Center.
All right, we'll take over from here, and we'll get back to you a little bit later. You catch your breath. We don't want
I think I'm ready.
You think you're ready now? You think you
Yes, I think so.
All right, well, then.
You got a
hold
couple
on. If you're not,
by the way, I
don't.
got an echo in my ear. If you could take that out.
He's got an echo is what he's going. Abbott. It's Abbott's fault he's got an echo, probably.
More from Halvey at 6. The Fighting Bobby Brinks, the Minnetonka Skippers, will take on Rosemount at 6. And then Moorhead, the defending champion Spuds, against the hated Edina Hornets. That's at 8 from Grand Casino Arena. I think you'll get most of that, and then Wild will take over, which then the high school hockey will move to the plus, 96.7. That's my understanding of the way things are going tonight on the Fan.
Speaking of the aforementioned Bobby Brink, let me see if I can find it here.
Hermantown.
Did you hear the Guerin comments on
Yes.
They're so good. Let me read them.
So, Bill Guerin.
Exactly. The first thing I told them was, this is not a family reunion. This is not to get together with your buddies. Tell your buddies and your family they know where the ticket office is. Buy your own freaking tickets, okay? I'm serious, too. Well, like I'm half kidding, but he's coming here to work and to be a part of the Wild and to win. Like, this is not coming home to hang out in Minnetonka, Wayzata, and all that stuff. He's here to work. It is vintage Bill Guerin, as you said. It's terrific.
In rare form.
Yeah.
There you have it. High school hockey coming up later on the Fan and Wild.
That's not
And
bad.
also, I saw that Ant was not on the injury report
For
at all for tomorrow. So that's good to hear. No
yeah, this
questionable.
is the third game of the homestand. A great chance to sweep it. I think Orlando is the opponent. It's a matinee affair tomorrow. Ryan Kelly, Vikings center, no big surprise, announces his retirement. So we need a new center. And guess who else needed a new center in the division? The Chicago Bears. Their center retired much more unexpectedly, one could say. And who did the Bears already go out and acquire to replace their center? Garrett Bradbury is back in the NFC North. Bears are trading for the Patriots center. New England will receive a 5th-round pick in return. Drew Dahlman was the Bears center who was great this year, also a free agent, who I think he's only like 25, 26 years old, maybe a little older than that, but in his prime. He said enough. He's moving on with the rest of his life.
Do you think in the introductory press conference to Bradbury, they're going to do the same thing that every Packer player coming to Minnesota says? He's going to be fired up to play them twice a year. He can't wait to get after his old team.
It's going to be a good revenge angle to cover. Now, again, Bradbury, I think we all felt too small. We needed to move on from him. He seemed to do pretty well, I think, in New England, so I don't know. Maybe it's the way the Bears run their offense. Maybe it's different. But the fact is, two teams in the division both needed centers, and the Bears have already been proactive. Vikings have not replaced their center yet. Maybe they will in the draft. Maybe they have their own free agent possibility, although another free agent center got plucked away by somebody else. The name will come to me in a minute, but the point is no longer available. You know who is available? Our 5:30 guest, Lavelle E. Neal III, is coming up here on The Fan.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Brought to you by American Pressure.
And you're hearing it this early because we are out at 6 o'clock for exclusive Fan Radio Network coverage of the state high school hockey tournament, the AA
Hermantown
semifinals. Halvey, of course, will be on the call. That'll be at the top of the 6 o'clock hour of the broadcast. Lavelle is with us now. He joins us via the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline. Dateline, Fort Myers, Florida. Is that correct?
That's correct, my friend. I'm in Fort Myers, and we're in the... Where are we? We're headed... I believe we're headed to the top of the third inning between the Twins and the Atlanta Braves right now.
My sources say there have been some animal shenanigans causing some disruption. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's been some quality entertainment tonight already. It just happened too. While Brett was calling me, the animal control people had just marshaled the varmint and put him in a cage to the applause of the audience. But while play was going on in the bottom of the second, up toward the back row, the last row of the stadium, all of a sudden, caught on camera is a baby raccoon rampaging through the rows of spectators, unsuspecting spectators, until like one lady felt something against her leg and had to stood up and look down. But so then the varmint control people show up, and they've got like their little ropes and stuff to try to corral it. And they thought they had him. They're trying to carry him over into the cage, but then the varmint got loose.
Elusive.
And then he started going down the stairs, bounding toward the front row. So now the varmint's in the front row. And I'm wondering, is this thing going to get on the field somehow? But then it makes a run for it. Now it's running in the first row, right by home plate, cutting through the crowd. And it got to one point where people were seeing the varmint coming, so they're staying up to get out of its way. And one dude thought they were doing the wave, so he actually stood up and waved his hands like it was the wave. But it was the raccoon running across from the Twins dugout toward the visiting dugout, and then turned around and went back toward the Twins dugout. And that's when animal control finally got the young raccoon, got whatever catch tool. They had the device that basically is a pole with a noose around it.
Ooh.
We're able to lasso him with that and get him into a cage and carrying him away, much to the delighted audience who applauded in appreciation.
I'm not in the business of giving the poll ads any ideas to make more money, but if the Twins win this game and beat my Braves, do you think it's time for the Rally Raccoons potentially to come out?
How are they your Braves?
How are they?
How's a Packer fan a Braves fan?
My dad moved to Atlanta when I was in first grade, and then that was just kind of our thing we did. So yeah.
My argument is that it's probably because of the poll ads that all spectators must have a ticket.
Well,
and obviously the raccoon didn't.
Yeah, well, there's a million jokes there, but we won't go there. They're very elusive varmints. I had, back in Uptown days, I had an ongoing horror story with raccoons living under my deck, my small deck. It was awful. I couldn't stand the sight of them.
I had one living. I was staying in an apartment in Egan, and there was one rummaging around got under the apartment complex I was staying at. It was like scratching through a gap in the concrete and trying to get into my apartment. And I was trying to explain this to the landlady. She didn't believe me. I said, "Look, I go on a road trip and cover the Twins. Just walk into my living room and look in the corner, because at this point, the raccoon had scratched the opening in between the carpet and the base of the wall in my living room. So it was trying to get in there. To figure out a way to squeeze its way in.
Yeah.
And soon as I get a phone call on a road trip, and they're like, "Lavelle, I apologize. When I walked in and looked down and saw that hole, I could not believe what I saw." So they went in and filled that hole, and I never had the problem again. But it took like 5 phone calls to convince them that a critter was actually trying to come up through the floor.
They're not. I've never had good experiences with them. That's for sure. All right. I believe it or not, I know you're in Florida, but I want to start with the Timberwolves. They won their 5th in a row last night. They have moved up, at least for the moment, into the number 3 spot in the Western Conference standings. They are at 40-23, 635 winning percentage, improved their home record now to 22-11. They're a game ahead of the Rockets. They are also a game ahead of Denver. So there's 3 teams bunched, and then there's the Lakers, who are still in the mix as well. It's basically 4 teams vying for 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, again, I don't know how much you've been able to watch because you've been in Florida, but are you getting the sense? Because we now have signs, Lavelle, that a team that had big-time bench issues now feels pretty comfortable about going a minimum of 8 players deep, and maybe if you throw Slow-Mo in the mix, and he was in the mix yesterday, even 9 deep. And suddenly the bench, especially with the addition of your Fighting Illini guy, looks like it can be an asset beyond simply whether Naz Reid is going good. And on nights when he wasn't, it was pretty much there were no other answers.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that adding Dosomu helps. It's not like he's, going to fill up the scoreboard, but he's going to get 8 to 12 points, and that's vital coming off the bench.
And he's going to guard.
And he's going to guard, and he's going to get out to help the transition.
Yes.
He's got a lot of pluses that's going to fit in. Slow-Mo knows the offense, and Slow-Mo is a pretty heady player. He was shooting pretty good from the field with his recent team before he got bought out. So, I just think we were talking about this before the All-Star break about how they had to get their heads out of their keisters and start playing. I think that's part of it right now, is that they know that they see the light at the end of the tunnel with the regular season, and now they're surging. They're on point. They're listening to their coaching staff. They're executing game plans better, and they've got some depth so there's not a drop off when someone needs to take a break or come out of the game or get some foul trouble. And I think we're seeing that happen. It's funny, because I woke up this morning and saw that they were 40-23. I said, "See, here we go." In December, they sit there and complain about how they don't pay attention to what the coaches are telling them, and now it's March, and now they're stepping up.
Yeah.
So. So it's going to be a fun little race here. If the Wolves can hold off the Rockets and Nuggets for the 3 seed, that'd be awesome. So let's see how this plays out. Of course, you also have the Rockets and the Rockets and Nuggets to contend with, and Jokic and Durant, and Ant. So you got some three headliners there going head to head. I don't know what their head to head schedules are going down the stretch, but now things have gotten interesting.
There's no question about that. One other NBA note we need to cover. It appears that tonight's the night Jason Tatum is returning to action with the Boston Celtics, I believe only 10 months after his whole leg collapsed on him. And from the beginning, everybody said this guy is a freak when it comes, he's Kobe-like when it comes to his regimen, his mentality, his workouts, etc. So I don't know that anybody's surprised. But what does stun me, and we probably haven't talked about it enough here, is the Boston Celtics without him this entire season and having traded away 3 complimentary players on the championship roster have the second best record in the Eastern Conference. It's astonishing. You want to talk about seriousness of purpose and not playing with your food like we sometimes blame the Wolves for at times? This is a serious team and probably the best coach team in the league right now.
Well, I was going to say Joe Mazzulla probably is a main candidate for NBA Coach of the Year with the job he's done without Jason Tatum. One of the top 10 players in the league. Is he 10? Definitely, right?
Oh, definitely 10, but at his best, more like top 5.
Exactly. A fabulous player like Jason Tatum being out. And Jaylen Brown stepping up, in his absence. And other people filling the breach when he's gone. And it's not a fluke. They're 41-21. That's a 660 winning percentage, right? They're winning like 2/3 of the games almost.
That's correct. 661.
Remarkable. The only thing is, the Pistons guy has got the Detroit 45-16. He's 4.5 games ahead of Boston. He's going to get votes Coach of the Year as well.
That's correct.
But we have a team like Boston, who's got championship pedigree. They got guys who've got it done before. They've been able to circle the wagons and withstand the loss of their superstar. And now the league has hell to pay for it because Jason Tatum's back and right in time for the stretch drive, so he will be in form by the playoffs. So the Celtics are a dangerous team, not just in the East, but if they get back to the finals, they're going to be a hell of a lot to deal with.
Speaking of the National Football League now, Lavelle from Florida will get to spring training eventually. Did you see, as we learned within the last few days, both the Bears and Vikings once again needed to find starting centers, right? The Bears lost their new guy who was brilliant for them last year, Dahlman, correct? He announced he's done. Today, no, a surprise in this case, Ryan Kelly announced his retirement. He, of course, was the signing that the Vikings acquired from the Indianapolis Colts at center. And did you see who your club, the Bears, has already gone out to get to fill their starting center role?
I did not. And it's funny because I checked NFL News at about 2 o'clock this afternoon. So if it just happened, and I've been in baseball mode here because I just interviewed Royce Lewis and talked to some other people. So hit me with it. Garrett
Bradbury is your new Bears center. They went out and got the guy the Vikings rejected. He was with New England, and the Bears gave New England a 5th-round draft choice. Garrett Bradbury is back in the division.
Wait a minute. This isn't April 1st. We're in March, right?
No.
Are you sure this has happened?
This has happened. This is confirmed. I thought they were going to go after. I thought they were going to go after Tyler Linderbaum and take a big swing at a center. But Linderbaum apparently is going to get $20 million a year. Maybe they didn't want to spend that. That tells me that the Bears are sizing up a big move elsewhere. That maybe they're deep into the Max Crosby sweepstakes or going to bring in another impact player. Bradbury, by all indications, had a good year for the Patriots. And after being jettisoned by the Vikings, and Vikings fans grumbling about this guy for years, but he kind of righted his career with the Patriots, and now he's back in the division. I'm okay with it. I'm not thrilled. I'm not upset because I
I have monitored the good Bradbury from this year, but I haven't forgotten the Bradbury that Vikings fans have lamented about in previous years. So I just hope no Ryan Poles, former offensive lineman.
Let me stop you here. Let me stop you here. Is it possible, because we made, I think, a change in our offensive line coaching, maybe we didn't do a very good job of either coaching or evaluating? You can't rule that out, because Bradbury did have a representative year with New England. He was not somebody who was embarrassing like he was here, and maybe we're finding out a little bit that there were some issues that the Bears needed to address. By the way, I should say that the Vikings needed to address. Your club has opened up between these moves, the DJ Moore move, and I think they let a linebacker go, $45 million in cap space. That's the kind of money that can allow you to make a big splash in the NFC North.
That's what I'm thinking. Dan. I'm thinking Max Crosby trade or Trey Hendrickson, who I believe is a free agent. Stay tuned to see how this transpires, because they I believe it's Tremaine Edmonds they released, and that was $15 million of the cap savings that they're experiencing. So they're lined up to do something big here, man. I know it sounds like they're going to draft the defensive lineman for sure. So probably a defensive tackle to replace Andrew Billings, who basically looks like me in a uniform. So they're probably going to draft a defensive tackle. Monitor the defensive end market, because apparently the draft has a good depth in defensive ends. But I still think on the other end of that, they may go after one of the big shooters that are going to be available. And it's not going to be cheap. You see your boy Daniil Hunter sign an extension today?
I did. He's been great.
$40 million.
He's been great in Houston. He's been great. He's absolutely worth it.
There's some juicy stuff going on in the NFC North, because in the last calendar year, not only did you've got Ryan Kelly retiring and Dahlman retiring. You also had Ragnow retire about a year ago this time.
Yes.
So like 3 starting centers gone from the NFC North.
Well, the other thing we've been talking about on the show the last couple of days, which we should at least address briefly here, and I didn't get to it with Gessling today, is the nugget that the Vikings are grudgingly shopping Jonathan Gennard. And the feeling is they really don't want to, but he wants a salary adjustment because his number is extremely low for top 10 pass rushers. And we either don't have the money to do it or aren't interested in doing it. And I'll tell you, I think it's a bad sign for the Vikings. I understand his numbers were not as good this year as last, but his pressure rate was actually better last year than the year before. He's in his prime. He was not in any shape or form overpaid. I'm not sure. I know we think we got reinforcements behind him. I just don't think that's a very good sign for the purple. When you're talking about a guy prime age that you are saying, well, we're going to have to see what we can get for him because we just don't think this is going to work out.
Yeah, Grenard's a presence in this defense, man. I think this is a sticky wicket for the Vikings to have to consider this type of move. He's very talented, and he has a presence on that defense. And if they didn't move him, that's going to be one of the eyebrow raisers across the league, I believe. But this goes back to having to spend free agency for the last couple of years and swinging and missing on a couple of guys they brought in last year, Hargrave and the other defensive tackle, because Coyte didn't draft well enough. So it's just weird because it seems like it was just 2 years ago they untangled themselves for the financial mess that they were trying to untangle themselves from.
It's curious.
From the previous regime.
Yep, you're right.
And now they're back at it. I mean, how does this happen so
I don't
quickly?
know. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. The Jackals have not explained it to me in a way that I think is understandable at this point. I'm with you 100% on that. We got a little bit of time to talk Twins, if there's anything worth talking about. Has anything caught your eye? Is there any juicy controversy? Are people as bored with the Twins there as we are here? Or what have you seen so far?
Well, attendance is down, I was told, this spring training. I think they've drawn 5,000 people once, and back when they were rolling good, they were getting 7,000 people in the stadium, maybe a little bit more. Bailey Ober just finished a 3-inning stint. When I'm done here, I got to go down and catch the rest of his presser with the media because this was his first spring training action of camp. And I thought this was a significant outing because you already lost Pablo Lopez. David Festa's gone. Joe Ryan's coming back from a tweaked back muscle. And they got Ober, who's been trying to untangle his mechanics. He had not pitched in the game. He's had simulated games, but he had not pitched in a game this year. So this was kind of noteworthy. So it looks like he was very effective. I think he threw 23 pitches over his first 2 innings. Yes, I was tracking pitches even when Raccoon Gate was going on. And he looked pretty efficient out there. So I imagine he's got to be pleased. And the Twins have to be moderately satisfied too, because if he's showing signs of not being ready for opening day, then now you really are losing any depth that you were so proud of going into the regular season. So, and also for Sunday, I'm tweaking the Twins a little bit about the mixed messaging they're sending out. When you have the control owner Tom Pollard talking about yes we can contend, when you have your ticket sales people begging people to try to come watch a game, they're offering like 2-for-1s, $2 beers. I guess if you go to like a premium game and then like another tier game, then you qualify for free tickets to a third game. The free ice cream for kids on weekends. They are behaving like a team that's worried that no one's going to show up at the ballpark. Meanwhile, you got the owner talking about, oh yeah, we could contend. 73.5 wins is our over/under. That's preposterous. I just see there's mixed signals going on there.
Larry Mondello guy with this. Lavelle used the word varmint about a dozen times. Does he turn into Jed Clampett when he goes south of the Mason-Dixon line? Is he going to finish the segment by talking about the cement pond at his hotel?
My cement pond's actually at a buddy's house in Cape Coral.
Oh.
That also includes a hot tub. So I have a cement hot tub as well.
What could possibly go wrong?
I may be retreating to after the game tonight. We'll see.
Yeah, well, it's very, very possible. Last item for today. We only got about a minute and a half left because we're out at 6 for state high school hockey tournament coverage right here exclusively on the Fan. Wild hockey tonight, by the way, in Vegas, which you can hear on the Fan too. Kyler Murray, do it for you? I'm not aroused by that prospect at all. I seem to be in the minority among the media jackals in town. Where are you on Kyler?
I was irked at the beginning when I heard about the possibility of Kyler Murray, but I keep thinking about it. Kyler Murray's accomplished more than when Sam Darnold came to the Vikings a couple years ago, and there's stuff to work with there. And if his work ethic is indeed improved, or if that was overblown, and maybe he's in a position now where he's going to listen to the quarterback whisperer and learn. And there's risk involved with the Vikings in this one too. KLC's got his name next to this one if he's bringing Kyler Murray in. If this doesn't work out, KLC's title as quarterback whisperer is going to be seriously put in doubt here. So if they believe that they can work with this guy and win with this guy, then let's see it happen. But I'm slightly skeptical, but not as skeptical as I was when I first heard the name Kyler Murray connected with the Vikings. So it could be Geno Smith was released today. You don't want to see Geno Smith anywhere in purple, do you? No, I don't. So once you think about it, there's a lot of talent there. There's arm, there's legs, there's accuracy he's got to work on, and he's got the type of arm that probably has KLC salivating over his precious 20-yard chunk plays that he likes to get downfield. So let's see if he can work with the guy. If he feels that convicted, you've got to be convicted about these things and tune out the outside noise if you really think it's going to work. But there's one thing to be certain about a guy, and there's another thing to be certain to be wrong. And I don't think the Vikings are in a position to be wrong this time.
I've been underwhelmed by his alleged work ethic as well, but we'll see. Enjoy the rest of your spring training sojourn, and we will chat next week. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Lavelle, Neal III, Dateline, Fort Myers, Florida. Fort Myers, Florida. Covered a lot of ground with him. We're out at 6, top of the hour today, because we got, as I mentioned earlier, high school hockey, the Class AA semifinals on the Fan early. Halvey will be, of course, headlining the festivities. I'm assuming eventually, maybe, depending on timing, it switches over to the Plus when we have Wild Hockey tonight. That'll be at 8:45 this evening. The Wild in Vegas. Some new players. We're going to see them unveiled almost immediately. What's on the on tap for Beyond the Pond tomorrow? Big guest lineup?
Marcus Foligno, the Moose, is coming on Beyond the Pond tomorrow.
How many, are there any other, so we got his brother.
Yeah.
How many other, are there any other Folignos we can acquire?
I think there's only two, to my knowledge.
Okay, fair enough. So that's tomorrow on Beyond the Pond. Sermons Sunday at 9 a.m. as well. We hope you enjoyed the program today. We appreciate your help. Thanks for watching and listening, and we will talk to you Sunday morning.